Exciting.
Yay!
Woo!
Hello, we're here. We made it.
Yeah, we made
it. Yay! Thank you, everybody, for being so patient. You know, it's one of those things where, like, no matter how often we all do this stuff, of course, the one time you want it to work, like the camera doesn't want to play nicely with the computer and blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely typical.
So totally typical. So super, super glad that you are here, Hannah. This is
Me
Hannah
too.
Joshua of Hannah Makes. And she makes all sorts of amazing things like LED dresses, as well as like stormtroopers that light up and tea dunking robots. And oh yeah, the stormtroopers right there. Oh, it looks so good. Super cool.
It makes a great backdrop, actually.
Yeah.
I need a bigger one just for streams.
Yeah. Hang it closer to the camera, right?
This stormtrooper is small. This stormtrooper is far away.
Right. Do some forced perspective things.
Yeah.
Pretend you're, you know, filming like Lord of the Rings, right?
I like that idea, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I am super excited to have you on the stream, and
I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, let's just kind of dive into it. Oh, if you guys are wondering, this is just like a miscellaneous little kit that I have that I figured like maybe I would solder together in a little bit while we're chatting. Nice. And the kit is a little piano synth kit, and it is by Timo Schindler, who goes by blinkyparts on Tindy, and that's where you can get it. So anyway, yeah, awesome. So I would love to know about your path into STEM. Like, when did you first know that you were kind of excited about technology and things and electronics, and how did you get into it? And you have like a master's in theoretical physics, is that right?
I do, yeah.
So how did you get from there to like, which is very abstract, to actually making real world things with your hands, and which is very not abstract?
Definitely. Well, it's weird because my journey into STEM started like in quite a traditional way, just in a like doing a pure science degree thing. And I super enjoyed it. But then like when I finished my master's, I was kind of thinking, well, where do I go now? And it's like quite common maybe to do a PhD afterwards, but I didn't find that like one little vein of science that was like my niche, the thing that like I really felt like I could commit myself to for like 3 years. Because there was just I'm too much of a magpie. There are too many things that grab my attention. There was no way I could settle down and do one area of science for 3 years. So I was like, well, what do I do now?
What were you studying in theoretical physics? Like, what drew you to that course of study?
Well, I got really into particle physics when I was younger. I think because I was kind of growing up around the time of like the LHC, and the Large Hadron Collider came online like when I was kind of sixth form. So it was just kind of like, just when I was getting to like the really exciting science in school, there was a big like real world thing that was science in action, and I kind of wanted to be a part of it. And I love telling the story.
Gravity.
Yeah, and I love telling the story that like I was nearly, technically, sort of a co-discoverer of the Higgs boson.
What? Oh my God!
But I think that the story of saying
I now
I was like almost. I'll stick with the post. But the story of like being almost a co-discoverer of the Higgs boson is actually just as good as being like a co-discoverer of the Higgs boson. So when I was doing my master's, one of the projects that we could kind of choose to do was doing background calculations for the LHC. Because of course, to know that you've got a signal, you need to know what background you're expecting to be able to subtract that off and see your signal. But it turns out that these background calculations, you need like tons and tons and tons of them, and they're actually really tedious to do. So they were just getting loads and loads of master's students to do these calculations, so that they'd get their names on the paper as like having contributed research that had helped to discover the Higgs boson. But in return, they had to do like a year of some of the most boring calculations. So I was like on the fence, like, oh, wouldn't it be great to be able to say I was a co-discoverer of the Higgs boson? But then I realized that the story of saying I was nearly a co-discoverer of the Higgs boson is just as good, but I don't have to do any of the boring calculations.
Like I could have been, but it was just too boring for me.
I
like it. I like it. That's awesome. So you were like, yeah, this is too boring. I need to put together some cool electronics.
Well, for my master's, I did, it was like solid state physics. So it was like researching thin films of helium adhered on a graphite substrate to see if they go superfluid, but only theoretically. I didn't touch anything practical. In fact, I switched to the theoretical degree because I did some practical labs lower down in my undergrad, and I was so bad at them. I was actually a danger to myself and other people in the lab. So I switched onto the theoretical degree, and now I've just sort of like come full circle back to making physical things and kind of doing the practical aspect much later. But I'm pleased to report I'm a lot safer at it now than I was back then. But I remember this one particular lab that we had, that we were meant to just be doing an experiment to calculate the Earth's magnetic field. And I managed to get it so wrong that I was out by 2 orders of magnitude. And if the Earth's magnetic field was actually that strong, all the iron would be pulled out of your blood.
Nice. That totally reminds me of a lab that we did in undergrad. It was the infamous bucket lab. And like all engineers had to go through this one course, and it was like a lab course in a whole bunch of different disciplines. And there was this bucket lab where the general problem was you had a bucket like with water filled up to a certain level, suspended on a string, and you had a sign for like a storefront on this string, and you had to calculate the level of water needed in the bucket so that when you twisted it, it would like rotate and change at once per second. I think it was at like 1 hertz or 1.5 hertz.
Frequency of
Yeah, because storefront owners, this is a totally common way to put a sign out, and so but like you didn't have exactly the bucket in the store, so you had to sort of model it and then perform your experiments in the lab and then extrapolate it onto the actual bucket and all of that stuff. And I'm pretty sure the amount of water in our bucket was light years.
And that is excellent.
It was like nobody knew what the right answer was. And it was like, it was this lab that absolutely kind of was like the lab with the story that every year you heard about it before you took this course, and it was like the bucket lab, and people got like nanometers of water, I'm pretty sure, all the way up to like light years like we did. So yeah.
Well, I think it's better to be over prepared. So like having more water than you needed, even if it's like a couple of galaxies worth, is like
right.
Definitely the right way to go.
It's a good resource. It's a good resource. Oh, that's hilarious. So okay, so how did you very first get into STEM? Just like was it like in high school? Before that, did you always kind of play with, toys that were a little geeky and nerdy? And
yeah, I think definitely. Yeah, just a nerd from the start. Yeah, I mean, like everybody loves Lego, but all of those kind of like, kits, I remember distinctly now, and it's like a memory that I'd forgotten for a really long time. And now kind of recently, since getting into electronics more specifically, I remember getting Real Robots magazine when I was a kid. And it was like, I used to absolutely love it. And you don't see so many of these now, because I guess print media with like the internet is kind of not what it used to be in terms of popularity. But it was a magazine, and every week you got another little piece of your robot that you would add on, and there'd be like a couple of page spread of how to plug it in, like which bits to connect. It was all really simple, just kind of like, JST connectors or something to kind of plug all the boards in together, and just like a couple of screws and standoffs. But like you built over weeks this robot that went from just being a thing that blinked a couple of lights to it can follow a line. And then in like season 5 or something, you got to make like a remote control, and you could drive your robot around. And like the idea that you built that was just,
that's super cool.
Mind-blowing. Yeah. And I absolutely adored that. And it was so funny, because I just kind of remember like looking at those circuit boards and thinking that's like actual magic. Like this thing has a brain, like it can do stuff. And and this tiny little square with like these just anonymous bits of metal on is making it do that, and wanting to know kind of how all that worked. And then I kind of don't know where I sort of fell out of love with it, and now I've come all the way back to it.
That's awesome.
And it's a nice feeling.
That is super awesome. So okay, so then you're in school and you have a master's degree, and what kind of propelled you into playing in the realm of the physical again?
Well, I started working for New Scientist magazine pretty much straight out of uni. I had no idea what I wanted to do. It had to be something STEM related, but beyond that, I had no idea. I remember going to like a careers fair and being just so lost and not knowing what I wanted to do, that I just decided I was going to work for whoever gave me the best freebies. And I came away from there and I looked at my bag and I went, I actually don't think the atomic weapons establishment is me. Maybe this was a bad strategy. Maybe I'll have to try and look for a proper job in a more traditional way.
Yeah.
And I just got really lucky. New Scientists were like advertising for like an intern just when I was kind of searching for something. And I applied and I got in, and I'd spent 5 beautiful years being a sort of editor and sort of general dog's body. But
Nice.
I kind of had this idea that the maker movement was happening. People in their bedrooms were making these cool things with technology. And as a science and technology magazine, shouldn't that be something that we're covering? So I started asking around and saying, like, why isn't this something that we're talking about? Why aren't we writing anything about it? And eventually they said, well, if you think it's so good, why don't you write about it? And at the time, I just kind of knew it was a thing, but I was nowhere near it. I didn't have a 3D printer. I didn't know how any of it worked. I'd heard of an Arduino, but I'd never like bought one or used one. And they were like, why don't you write about it? So I started writing about it, and I thought, actually, I'm going to have to kind of get involved to kind of know what it's about. So I bought an Arduino and I made a little project and thought, well, actually, that was quite cool. And everyone seemed to enjoy that. So then it grew into this column where every week I'd make like a daft invention and write about it. And over time, I just realized that I liked the coming up with the ideas and making the dumb thing more than I enjoyed like the writing about it and the rest of like my day job. So I was kind of like, I wonder if I can just make that the whole job instead of having to do these other bits.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, so how long have you been pretty much full-time maker, content creator on your own?
So at the minute, I am a special effects technician.
Ah, okay.
Full-time.
Cool.
So I've been doing that for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been a wild year. It has been amazing. I'm just incredibly lucky that kind of in the couple of years that I was like working part-time and trying to build up some skills with the idea that I wanted to do something that was more practical and more connected to like physically making things. I just got this opportunity. I'd managed to teach myself just about enough that somebody like took a chance on me and let me come and work in their workshop. And I've just spent a year trying to catch up to all the incredible people that I work with, who are all so talented and know so much about making. I could barely use a hand drill a year ago when I got there, and now like I'm doing 7-axis CNC, and it's just like, yeah, that's fine, that's normal, but it's just such a lot of fun, and I'm so lucky to have all the cool things to play on now.
That's cool. So you're actually in the realm of physical object special effects.
Yes.
Not just computer generated special effects, which is I think what like myself at least and a lot of people think of as special effects these days.
Yeah.
People creating massive explosions on a computer, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So like what can you talk about any of the things that you've done? Is that okay to ask?
There's probably some that I can. There's definitely some that I can't. And for some reason, whenever somebody asks me the question, the ones that I can't talk about are always the ones that are like first to come to the forefront of my mind. But I remember one of the like first things I did, I was like making an alarm clock.
Yeah.
And that just sort of like blew my mind, because I kind of thought, well, surely you can find one of these. Like these exist. Why do I need to make one?
I guess what is the line between, I guess, like the prop department and like the special effects department when it comes to physical objects like that? Or is there kind of really
Yeah.
no line there? Yeah.
I think it comes down to what they need it to do, because
Yeah.
this alarm clock, they decided it needed to be, they had this one that they wanted me to basically copy.
Mm.
And they were like, we want this, but we want it an inch bigger, and we need to be able to control the time like off screen. So we want to zoom in, and we want to push a button to have like the minute tick over between two different times, and but then it's still got to be a clock because it's got to be in the background of the scene. And it was like a harder problem than it kind of seemed like, because you kind of go like, yeah, I can make a clock. And then like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, nobody makes like any screens that are square in those dimensions. Like this might not be possible. You know, and then you're kind of like trying to design like a little menu so that like the people who are on set with this prop will be able to set the time and do what they need to do. And you're like, oh, I guess I need to make that way more obvious, because if I'm kind of touching the buttons, like I know how to use like the Raspberry Pi desktop, but maybe they haven't seen it before, and it's going to need to like launch automatically, and it's just like a whole different level of thinking, which I guess like, you know, you folks like probably experience with kind of making kits and soldering kits for people. It's really different to making something for yourself that like you know how to use. Was that like a kind of adjustment, figuring out how to kind of design for somebody else to be able to interact with what you made?
Definitely. And a lot of like some of our stuff has kind of popped up a little bit sporadically so far based upon things that it was like, oh, I need this thing. And, you know, if I put a little bit of extra time into it, I could actually make it into a product that I think that people could use. But yeah, there are definitely challenges because you don't know necessarily what people are going to have trouble with, and they're going to be different things than I have trouble with, being more experienced and stuff. But it's definitely helpful having Robin design some of the soldering kits, because she's newer to electronics, and so those were like some of the first kits and boards that she designed. And so, you know, having a person who's at that level designing a kit for other people who are close to that level is like a little bit of a better fit. So
yeah. It's nice because it's really hard to predict sometimes when you have like some knowledge or some information, what things other people will or won't know about the same thing.
Yep.
And that's the really difficult thing about like even writing tutorials, like knowing which things to describe or not is like, that's the dark art of tutorial writing, really.
Yeah. Trying to pretend that you're a blank slate, right? And come at it from that perspective. Yeah. But I mean, UIs take a lot of code. Like the first one that I developed was for this, like, it's an accessory for a yarn winding tool. So like it was a controller for this yarn winding tool. And I thought I had made a prototype where like you hit a button and it did this and it started and it stopped and it was like, woohoo. And I thought that was going to be like the majority of the code and the hard part. And then it turned out that actually the user interface for handling button presses and going through a menu structure and pressing up and down and incrementing things, that actually was most of the code. The control scheme for the winder was like super easy.
I can imagine. It's just that you have to ask yourself questions like, what would happen if they pressed every button at once? And you have to stop that part of your brain that's like, why would somebody do that? Because somebody will.
Yep.
Somebody will do it just to see what happens. And you have to be prepared for that eventuality.
Absolutely. Oh, so Bob, who is Suara Links in the comments, he says that your tweets about styrofoam carving robot are fascinating.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed them. Because, man, I think there's going to be more of those tweets to come, because it's my favorite thing in the workshop to get to use. Like every time somebody comes in and says, we need to cut this on the giant robot, I like just come running into the room with my hand up, like, can I do it? Can I do it?
So how does the styrofoam carving robot handle static electricity? Because I would imagine there would be quite a lot generated through the cutting process of styrofoam, I would guess.
Do you know what? I don't know the answer to that. Other than the fact that the robot gets absolutely covered in polystyrene by the end of it.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe
so
I
think it kind of just doesn't. Yeah. So like, because like when after we finish like a big piece and we need to kind of clean the room and clean the robot down, it's really good fun because you sort of use the manual controls to kind of like move it down, and this thing is like 2 or 3 times my height and like this really imposing looking machine, and just to get to drive it manually down, it's a bit like, you know, it feels a bit like, you know, in the movies when there's like, I don't know, like a dragon or something and it kind of like bends down so that you pet it. It kind of feels like that when I just like, I bring the head of the robot down and I have a little brush. And
you groom your robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it purr when you groom your robot? It should purr.
I think it only purrs if you're doing it wrong. I tried to turn the spindle off before.
Right. So I would totally love to see more of your RFID tag PCB, and please tell us all about designing it, because that was your first PCB design, and that is a super impressive first project. Like that's it's a meaty one. Like, you know, our first projects around here like blinky boards, and yours was just like RFID tag.
Yeah. It was like I'm just really bad at things like scope creep. I just kind of like, you know, it started off as like a board with an LED on it, and it ended up as like, actually, why don't I just add an NFC tag? That was completely straightforward and like a natural progression. But yeah, I'll get them out. They're like,
that makes sense.
I'll bring one close. Ooh, oh, I don't know where the camera is.
That is so cool.
Too shiny, apparently.
Yeah, cameras are picky like that.
Yeah,
that is super cool. So I really love how there are skinny pieces of solder mask just to support the silk screen that's on top of them.
Yes,
like, I saw that when on your photo, and I was like, oh, that's clever. Just like
I'm moving it the wrong way. I don't know my left from my right.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, because I'd heard, because I don't know, because this is my first board. Like I haven't experimented with like, you know, solder mask and silk screen before, but I'd heard that silk screen doesn't adhere that well on its own to the copper or the FR4, that it adheres better to like the solder mask.
Yeah.
And that some board houses, if there's any like silk screen that's like going over copper, they'll remove it because they assume that you've like made a mistake. Or
right.
So I was like, it kind of like was a thing that was like a preemptive design idea to kind of put the solder mask under, but I actually really like the way it's turned out. So it's been a really good thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's super cool, and you're exactly right. And I think a fair number of board houses use automatic software actually that imports your Gerbers and automatically cuts out any silk screen that is overlapping a bare copper part. Because usually, like, you know, for a normal board design, that would mean that you accidentally put silk screen, like a reference designator,
or something, or,
was overlapping a pad or something. And then if you do have epoxy on that, epoxy silk screen on that part, then it's hard to solder to it. You know, I mean, I remember the good old days when they didn't do those kinds of checks, and when they weren't built into your your circuit board layout programs, and you would get boards that would have that problem if you weren't super
careful about it.
So
because it is confusing when you first kind of like open up all the different layers, and then even just daft things like it took me, I don't know how long to figure out there's text on the back of the board and to figure out which way that had to appear on screen.
Can you hold that up? Because that's okay. So that is it a cutout both in the silk screen and in the copper?
Yep. So it's just the bare FR4 there. So the thinking is that when you kind of hold it up to the light should kind of shine through the letters. But yeah. I would have loved to have the lettering in copper. But because it's an RFID antenna, you don't want to have any copper like in the middle of where the antenna is. So but
did you use PiCad for it?
I use Eagle.
Eagle? Oh, okay.
Just because that's what we use in work. I haven't needed to use it for anything in my job yet, but this has been like my project to try and like scale up so that I can bring that to to what I'm doing. But yeah,
awesome.
the Eagle, I couldn't find a really easy way of bringing the artwork in, or like drawing the artwork. There was like one user language program that would take like a bitmap and like basically turn it into lots of tiny polygons to try and like approximate the art. So, but I've heard that it's slightly easier in KiCad.
Yeah, yeah, it's easier in. I go back and forth between KiCad and KiCad. I don't know. I don't care.
Whatever you say. I don't know.
You know,
I haven't worked it out yet.
Yeah, it's actually easier there than it is even in Altium, which I've used a lot professionally. But it's still a very difficult process in all circuit board layout software, which I think is kind of interesting. Because yes, the automatic ones that actually like Altium will do some converting of like it's like a Microsoft bitmap or something like that. Basically, like you have to go through this crazy obscure process of like pasting an image into Word, copying it to your clipboard, and then pasting it into the circuit board layout program. And then it does this convoluted process of creating a whole bunch of polygons from your artwork. And most of the time it creates a shape that is so complex that anytime you try to manipulate it, your machine just crashes or bogs way down. Yeah, I mean, the good part about how it's done in Altium is that you do actually have the ability to scale it after you've imported it. KiCad, it makes you import it as part of a footprint, which is a little weird. And it's like once you import it, like the size is fixed. So if you're trying to get something to fit perfectly, there's a lot of like back and forth, and that's kind of painful. I don't know if the Shenzhen there's like a add-on for KiCad that I haven't really played with much. That's for like Inkscape, but I don't know if that's any better.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've also heard that it might not work with the current with the latest version of KiCad yet. So there's a little bit of
Well, KiCad's something I definitely want to get into, because I just think any free open source software, like big tick. Yeah. I mean, the good thing is that the Eagle is it's free for just like 2 layer boards. So it's something that like, beginners can just like download and use and make like a simpler 2 layer board with for free. But like in general, I try as much as I can to just use free open source software where it's like easy and available, because I just think that it's a great thing to support. And if I can, I will. But yeah, so KiCad is KiCad, however you say it. I never know. Is definitely on my list.
So speaking of things and words and how they're said, I don't know. We might have to have like a US UK showdown here. About crocodile versus alligator clips. Because I was watching one of your videos and you mentioned like crocodile clips, and I was like, are there crocodiles over the pond, and here they're alligators.
Because I have heard both. I think we do use both over here, but crocodile is more common.
So interesting. I hadn't heard crocodile before. It is
so
very.
You heard it. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's possible that other people use crocodile, and I just hadn't heard that yet. But yes.
No, that's great. That's really fun.
I feel like there's something in there, like there's some silly board design in there that's like crocodile or alligator or something, or crocagator.
Yeah, because it's like they're hard to tell apart as well, aren't they? Like, my fiance is going to kill me for saying that, because like he's described the difference between crocodiles and alligators to me like about 100 times, and I forget every single time.
Yeah, and then I get confused about which is which. It's like there's like a head shape difference and a size difference.
Yeah.
I think alligators are smaller than crocodiles, I want to say. Like,
yeah, that feels right. I'm trying it. So a while back, I was using the giant robot arm to cut out a giant polystyrene crocodile. And so like now that's my internal like mental reference for crocodile.
Yes.
I'm like, does it look like that piece of polystyrene? Probably a crocodile. Otherwise, maybe it's an alligator. Like, but that one was absolutely huge. So I think I'm supporting the idea that alligators are smaller, and people can fight us in the comments.
Nice. Oh man. Well, everybody's watching must be just stunned speechless because I'm not seeing comments rolled in. Oh wait, here we go.
We got one.
Yes, there we go. Alligators are freshwater. Crocodiles tend to be saltwater, especially in Australia. Yes, that is true. Australia is like that has the most, I think the biggest, like meanest ones I have heard, like that will chase after you. I know.
Well, like if I bump into one, I'm not gonna like bend down and taste the water to try and figure out which one it is before I run away.
Right. Yeah, like no. Oh man. Well, cool. Well, I don't know. Tell us about some of the other cool things that I'm seeing on your desk.
What else have I got around here?
Well, tell us more about the Stormtrooper because yeah, so that one is backlit. What is it? Yeah, what do you got going on there?
I can take it apart. So it's just like this was a sort of like one day build type quick project for Valentine's Day.
Dang, yeah. So I'm very impressed by the speed in which you crank out a project. Because like that looks legitimately like way nicer than like one of my one-day projects would have looked.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true. This like it's just because it's far enough away from the camera that nobody can tell like what a mess it secretly is. Well, look, I'll show you the wiring now, and it's just like it's there's literally just
all I see are beautiful LEDs.
It's just like glued. It was hot glued in there, and it's now like literally not anymore. So, it's not too much of a mess in there, but it's if I actually, I'm seeing if I can't remember if I've actually got one that turns the LEDs off. I think, yeah, but that was just it was a Valentine's Day project. I realized that the things that I bought for Valentine's Day weren't going to arrive in time, and I was like, I'm gonna have to make something. But like I can't really take credit completely for the design because it was entirely inspired by this really cool dinosaur like lamp that I saw on Thingiverse. There was a link to it in the tweet that I did about this. I should have had the link ready because I can't take credit for the idea really. But theirs was kind of like dinosaur shaped, and just I thought it was a really neat little idea because it's just a really simple 3D print. Because all you've got to do is kind of extrude the outer edge of the shape that you want the lamp, and then to diffuse the LEDs, it's just a like 2 or 3 layer white PLA print.
Okay. Cool.
And that's just like a panel that just slots into.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That print like that.
Cool.
And because there's just like an inch or 2 between the back panel and the front, that's just enough distance to kind of diffuse the LEDs really nicely.
Nice.
And I hadn't seen kind of 3D prints used for like diffusing LEDs much before. And then I saw them on this dinosaur lamp and I thought, hey, that's such a great idea because that's like the bane of every maker's existence is how do I diffuse my LEDs?
Yes, it is a challenge.
And that was a really fun strategy, I thought, to just like use because it's nice because a lot of the makers that I know that I follow, like a lot of them have 3D printers or have access to a 3D printer. That's becoming like a lot easier now. And as the prices are kind of getting lower and there's more information out there, it's way more feasible for people to either own a 3D printer or like have access to one. Whereas like sometimes you see really amazing builds and you want to kind of make one yourself. And then you figure out that like you need like a metal mill and a lathe and like all the kind of equipment that you don't quite have room for in like a flat in London. And it's just nice that project is so kind of like self-contained. And if you have a 3D printer or access to a 3D printer and a soldering iron, that's basically all you need to make something like that. And it feels like quite a chunky kind of significant build for just like those more easily accessible tools, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say, I thought, like, just from looking at it, I was like, oh, that was probably laser cut, right? Because it looks like acrylic, and
Right.
so that's really cool that it was 3D printed, because I think that a lot of times more people have access to 3D printers than laser cutters at their homes, at least.
Yes, yeah.
So maker spaces will generally have both, but yeah, cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What else do we have around here?
Yeah.
Because I guess so I recycle a lot of the parts from old builds. So nice. Many of the things that I've made, they are in pieces or have been recycled into kind of other things. But that always means that when I kind of do show and tell, I'm just I have a pile of wires this was a robot, which is a lot less impressive than having an actual robot. But I have the save the dates for my wedding.
Ah, yes.
For my tragically delayed several times wedding. You can see on the
oh
little,
my gosh.
I think 28th of May 2021 was the original date, and that's moved a couple of times now.
Oh my gosh.
Happy to report we have a date in June now that it should be happening, but this save the date is entirely wrong. Saving a date that's entirely gone. But yeah, these were 3D printed.
Don't save this date.
Well, we were going to send out unsave the dates.
Yeah.
After we sent out the save the dates, but then we realized that to send out some more resave the dates, we just decided to give up and just send out invites.
Oh man.
But yeah, these are 3D printed. And there's just one single button on the front, and the idea is it's meant to just look completely blank, which if I've done a decent enough job of sanding that down, hopefully it looks blank. And you press the button, and because I have a massive light pointed at me from over there, you can't see at all.
Yeah,
but it lights up.
Yeah, nice, cool. I can't.
Which in normal daylight is relatively visible, but with the lighting scenario I have here is tragically just made that impossible to see. But yeah, it's got our names and the date, but
nice.
Cameras are a bit difficult for picking up LEDs. But yeah, this was back this is actually a really nice way of kind of demonstrating to myself the progress that I've managed to make in what a year and a half ago or something we made these.
Yeah.
And now kind of making projects like this for the wedding, it's really fun to think that inside here the electronics, it's just a single kind of LED and a coin cell battery and just a couple of soldered wires. And to get to kind of progress from that to learning how to make boards has been just a really, really fun journey. And it's great to have both of those projects being sort of part of the wedding, because it's just kind of seeing that whole development through that period of time is really fun.
So is it a secret how the RFID tags kind of go with the wedding? Because I am so curious about that. But if it's a secret and can't be revealed till June,
it is not a secret. I am telling anyone who will listen.
Well, I'll listen. I will definitely listen.
Yeah. So my idea is to use them. And it's actually, it's really tragic. We've made these boards really pretty, and then I'm going to put them in a case where you can't see them. But the idea is I've got a kind of 3D printed first kind of try at a prototype here. And I've lost the little piece of acrylic that I did have sat around here. So you might have to imagine acrylic. Oh, no, we found it. So they're going to look something like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then I'm hoping that the single LED that's on these boards will provide edge lighting for the acrylic. And then I'm going to make one of these for every guest at the wedding.
Dang.
And if I can etch their names on the piece of acrylic that goes on the top, then they'll have a personalized like edge-lit acrylic gadget that lights up when they put it on their phone or any other NFC reader they happen to have around.
Yeah.
But I also want to make the seating plan for the wedding.
Ah.
I'm going to have an RFID reader next to it. So guests are going to come in, find their name on the table, and when they put their tag on the reader, their seat on the seating plan will light up.
That's cool.
Is my plan.
I like it. I like it. That's super cool.
But, I mean,
I like how it's like a little bit of scavenger hunt kind of.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
And then like anyone who wants to kind of like reprogram their chips to do something afterwards, or like do something more than just lighting the LED, if they want to kind of make it lead to a website or do something, then they can. I think that we're going to make the tags by default, if you read them with your phone, like lead to our wedding website.
Nice.
But for a while, we did think that what we might do is just have them all rickroll the guests.
Yes. Yes.
Because the idea of all of like our old relatives like picking these up and putting them on their phones and then being like, what's Rick Astley doing on here? Like I just kind of, I still think I might do that. Or maybe just one or two of them.
That's
maybe
what I was
just like
just
some
saying,
special
like,
guests.
Yeah, scatter them about. So some people get rickrolled and some people don't.
I think that's the best solution, definitely. It's gonna have to be people that wouldn't watch this stream. I'm gonna have to like,
right?
you know,
Yeah. Yep.
Because otherwise it's not gonna have the same effect. It's gonna be stealth to rickroll people.
That is awesome. Oh man. So the other thing I want to know more about, because I was trying to find a video on it, but I didn't see one. Teabag-dunking robot, because I was like, oh, that's cool, and you know, I think super useful.
Do you know what? I think I have bits of him under the table. If I can disappear for a minute.
Oh man. I'm also trying to find a 330K resistor spot right now.
And I've emerged from under the table.
Do not see. Nice.
So his brain has been recycled since other projects, sadly. And I don't know if you can tell, but he's actually extremely dusty.
Nope.
But
looks great. 720p. It'll look fantastic to all of the viewers.
But I couldn't part with, like, it's one of the very first projects I made, and it's kind of like terrible and wonderful, and it will always occupy a special place in my heart. And it was literally just, we've got our on-off switch there. And then a dial so that you can select your number of dunks.
Nice. Excellent.
You know, some tea might need longer than others.
Yeah.
And then like a little LCD screen that will tell you like the number of dunks that you've selected and then the number of dunks remaining.
Nice.
And then our tiny, extremely underpowered, wobbly Tau Pro micro servo arms to do the dunking. With, I think, like a bit of Lego that I've just like cut a piece out of to make like the tea bag hook.
Nice.
And quite a lot of tape.
I totally want to make one of these for my mom.
Well, that's so the very first time like I switched it on, I just absolutely hadn't thought about trying to like ramp the motion at all.
It's just like,
so it was like extremely aggressive teabag dunking, and I think
I like it.
And by the time I stopped laughing, I think more than half of the water in the mug had been distributed around my kitchen.
Nice. I feel like that should be a setting, is like, you know, dunking aggressiveness.
Overly aggressive. Version 2 will have an adjustable aggressiveness of the dunking.
Oh my gosh.
I think there is a video out there somewhere still on New Scientist, but I might try to find that afterwards. But
so that was a New Scientist
project? Yes, that was one of my very first ones for New Scientist.
Cool. So we have to find a back issue or an online version and buy it to get the whole instructions. Okay, awesome. totally do that. This is interesting. I don't know if my, oh, wait, there we go. No, it's just me. It's not my equipment. I was like, I don't see a spot for 100K resistor, but it turns out it's only 100 ohms. So yeah, that's why I didn't see a spot for 100K resistor.
Well, I mean, like, I'm going to put everything in the wrong place on this board. There's only 3 components, and I'm still going to get it wrong just because I didn't want to, like, compromise the artistic integrity of the boards by, like, putting any labels on anything. That's literally
right?
the only reason that I've got, like, a bigger LED than I have, like, a resistor. The resistor's 0603, and I think it's 08 or, like, the next size up that the resistor LED is, just so that I remember. Yeah, 0805, just so that I remember which way round they were without actually putting the label on them.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I think it's part of it's also kind of part of a surface mount board too, and part of like being able to successfully assemble a surface mount board is being able to look at the parts diagram, like the assembly drawing, and being able to match things that way, because oftentimes there just isn't enough room to write everything down, or maybe there is enough room, but if you did that, then it would be really cluttered, and you're hoping to only mark the things that are sort of like important to the end use of it or something like that to keep it kind of clear. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to like doing a design that's got enough stuff on it to make that like a consideration.
Yeah. Or that's just tiny enough. That's
yes, yeah. That's the other alternative.
Yeah. Cool.
I might have a go at soldering up one of these.
Yeah, definitely.
I only just remembered to like bring the good solder home from work. All of my nice equipment, I leave it in work and I completely forget to bring it home when I have something that I want to make at home. So
yeah, I have that issue too. I have like my crappy stuff at my house and the nice stuff at the workshop, and yeah. But fortunately, I live close by, so it's okay.
That is handy.
Cool.
You can see I've got like just the dregs of this this flux as well.
Oh, nice! You have syringe, like pasty kind of.
Yeah. I've never used the other stuff. This is the only stuff I've used, but I've since seen that you can like get the stuff that you have like a little brush and you.
My favorite are Flux pens. So you can get.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, and I really love these because they'll just last a long time, and they just, they just lay down a nice amount. They don't drown your board in flux.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you can get them in all sorts of different kind of formulations. So I have kind of a selection of flux pens, and like this one is a no clean flux. This one is water soluble flux. And then this one is for lead-free solder. It's a little bit, a little bit higher temperature, I think, like higher boiling point, so it stays a little bit longer. And then I have 2 more water solubles by Chip Quick. And I didn't like, there was like a medium activity and a high activity one, and I liked the high activity one better.
Yeah.
The medium, it felt like it didn't really stick to the board very well. It was almost like a no clean. Yeah, so I don't know. I can talk a lot about flux if you're interested in learning about
I so am. I was just about to say this is like really exciting information for me, because I've literally just used like the same brand that we have at work, and I just used this one kind of flux. Like I had never used flux before. I'd never done any SMD soldering, and like you can get away with through hole stuff. You can get away with it. Like you don't really need to use flux for the majority of just like sticking some header pins on a board or something.
Yes, you don't need to necessarily use external flux, because the flux is actually hiding in the solder. The solder. Which a lot of people don't realize, especially if they're like new to soldering. So almost all solder that's like sold for electronics assembly, at least, will have a flux core. but even solders will have different types of fluxes in their core. And for surface mount soldering, I really like water soluble flux, also sometimes called organic flux.
Okay.
And it has kind of a funny smell. Some of it has a funny smell. It sort of smells fishy.
I mean, it all has a bit of a funny smell.
It does. Yeah, they all have distinct smells, I feel like, different styles. And so sometimes you can like tell what solder is being used by how it smells.
Yeah,
which probably means that I need better ventilation at times. But
yeah,
you know.
and it's weird because like the lead stuff smells great. Like and you kind of like you start kind of accidentally huffing it and then you're like, wow, that's a really bad plan. Like
so it's probably the rosin that actually the rosin flux
that's
in a lot of leaded solder.
Yeah.
But you're not actually like the lead is not in the fumes. It's the flux that causes the fumes. So
that's really reassuring to know.
I mean, it's a mild acid, so you don't want to like huff a lot of it because it can irritate you after a while. And certainly different people have different kinds of sensitivities. So if like you get migraines that are triggered by smell or something like that, then you might be, you know, more sensitive and more ventilation might be more important for you. But yeah, the rosin flux is actually made as a byproduct of pine sap, and it's like pine rosin.
Right.
So that's
I knew
why
I'd heard the word before, and I couldn't place it. But yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah, and that's a really good all-purpose flux because it's sort of in the middle. So no clean is the least aggressive flux. And then rosin is sort of in the middle, and then water soluble tends to be the most aggressive flux. And that's why I don't like using no clean on when I'm hand soldering surface mount stuff, because I don't feel like it flows as nicely. And so I'll tend to use either rosin, or my favorite is the water soluble, because that tends to hold up a little bit longer for more like if you're, you know, kind of putting a dab down with on the tip of your soldering iron. If you have like a little ball of solder on the tip of your soldering iron and you're just tacking it down to begin with, so you have the part held in your tweezers and you have like a little ball on your soldering iron, then I like pre-fluxing everything with water soluble flux, because even if that solder ball has sort of been hanging out on your iron for a little bit and all of its internal flux has vaporized, it's still enough to make that there's enough on the board and it's aggressive enough to still make a nice joint. So yeah, that's water soluble is cool. But the caveat is, especially for something like an RF board, you do have to clean it. You must clean it all up with water. Isopropyl alcohol also works. Because it is a little bit conductive when it's so it'll actually change the electrical properties of your board a little bit. So for low voltage stuff or RF stuff, it'll actually be enough to make a difference. And also if you leave it on, since it's more aggressive, since it's like a stronger acid, over time it would actually eat away at your solder joint if you leave it on.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah,
I didn't know that. I mean, the stuff that like I've got that I've been using, I have no idea what it is, but it says no clean on it. So
that's no clean.
So but like it didn't occur to me that if I was using something that didn't say no clean on it, that I might have to clean it. That's really interesting information. That's really great to know, because I'm so excited for my future soldering journey now, because I kind of got to the point where I was like, I can solder some SMD stuff, but now there's a whole new exciting world of like trying different kinds of flux and finding my favorite, and like I'm looking forward to that journey.
Totally. Yeah. You can totally mix and match fluxes too. Like that's not going to cause any problems. Just, you know, I always like to clean my flux off anyway, because like, you know, clean boards are happy boards. But if you use like a combination of no clean and water soluble, then you have to like spend some extra time cleaning it, because like you do have to clean it because you've used water soluble, but you'll have like maybe you used water soluble external flux, but you used your solder that has a no clean core, right? Like, because it can be more difficult to find solder with a water soluble core, especially the lead-free stuff. It tends to just be more expensive. I think it has like a shorter shelf life because it's, you know, more corrosive. So Yeah, you can mix and match, but if you're doing that, then yeah, just be aware that you do need to clean it, and that might be a little harder because the no clean takes a little more scrubbing to get off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd noticed that without realizing that there was like an alternative, I think.
Yeah, most automated assembly houses will use water soluble because they'll just like the board will be on a conveyor and it'll, go through the oven and then it'll go through a washing station and it'll go through another little oven to make sure it's all dried. Because that's another thing that can happen is that surface mount components are so small, they can have like tiny, tiny little spaces underneath them between the body of the component and the board. So if you are using water soluble flux and you wash it and water wicks under there, it is like there's enough surface tension to prevent it from just like evaporatively drying in a normal kind of climate. Yeah, so you actually need like a little bit of heat in order to
to like free it up and get it to get it out of there.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, or sometimes you can also like just kind of spray off your board with like some canned air if it's not like super static sensitive and stuff.
Yeah, because that's another thing that like somebody told me. Myself and like a colleague had bought like a
you just
off our boards. Oh no.
Oh, you're back now. You're back now. Yes. It's good. Your colleague, we lost you at colleague.
Yes. So we'd bought some cheap toothbrushes to use for like cleaning off boards. But then somebody else like asked what the bristles were made out of, and I was like, why does that matter? It was like, because if you're scrubbing the board with like synthetic bristles, you might be building up static, and that's electricity, and that could make a difference. And it just not occurred to me that was like a thing to be careful of. But I mean, I don't think a lot of boards that I've worked with, it would make a huge difference. But like, it's a good thing to be aware of, because like it's one of those things that even if it's a kind of slim odds, to know that it's possible for it to happen can like save you a lot of time when you're troubleshooting something and you go,
that's not a problem until it's a problem, and then it's a big problem. Yeah, that's actually very interesting. That is something that actually had not occurred to me, and that I haven't run into any problems with that. And I don't use toothbrushes, but I have used they're alternately chalk brushes for like climbing if you're bouldering to scrub off holds. They're also M16 cleaning brushes is what they actually are. But they have all sorts of like good bristles, and it's like a good stiffness for that.
Nice.
So I've used those
Top
for board.
tip.
Yeah, but those are nylon bristles, I think. So they're actually probably could be that problem. Although I would imagine if you're just scrubbing, if it's a wet board, if it's like under running water, I feel like that's not going to be as much of a problem, because it's going to be hard to build up charge when water is involved.
Yeah, I mean, for the way that like I've often done it, because I'm really lazy and I'm just sat at my bench, I've just got a can of like PCB cleaner, and I'll just like spritz it and then just go to town with a toothbrush, and no water involved. I'm probably like building up a heck of a lot of static from doing that, but the kind of thankfully quite resilient boards that I've done that to have survived the experience. So
oh, cool.
Trying to see which way around this chip is, and the lighting is really great over there, but not so great here, which was I realize now a mistake for a live stream where I was going to be soldering something.
I actually, right beforehand, I was like, I do not have enough light right now, and so I added one. I was like, this is a
smart move.
Yeah, I also have middle-aged eyes, which are in the process of doing that thing where I'm like losing sort of like the nearsighted vision, the ability to focus close. So I'm starting to do that thing with like menus that your parents do, and it's kind of depressing, but that's okay.
Oh no. Well, I think glasses are really cool.
I don't mind glasses, but now it's becoming more complicated because it's like astigmatism plus shifting vision, and it's like getting to be bifocal time, and I'm not that old. Come on.
Oh, I remember my mum desperately not wanting glasses, and it was just like over time she'd be kind of reading her book, and it would just get further and further and further away. And I like caught her one time, she'd propped her book up on something and was stood like greater than arm's length away from it. And I was like, I think this is the point where you have to admit that you need reading glasses. And she was so desperate for that not to be the case.
Yeah.
And you'll just have a more comfortable reading experience if you give in to this.
It's true. I actually have a separate pair of glasses now, and it's pretty amazing, the difference. I think it's only like when I first got them, which was kind of, I don't know, it might have been 2 years ago at this point. But it wasn't too bad. I was like, oh yeah, my phone is like a little clearer if I put these on and stuff. But what I've really been noticing a bigger difference in like the last month or so, which probably means that I need to go to the optometrist again and get my prescription checked and stuff. But yeah, when I'm in bed reading at night, so the light's kind of dim, and I was like, wow, like I really need more light for this book. And then I put on the actual close-up glasses, and I was like, oh,
maybe it's not just the light.
I can now like read it like here instead of like there. Dang it. Oh man.
Wow.
All right. I think I got all of these resistors in. I do have one extra, which is probably okay. Because sometimes they give you extra ones.
I have just done a horrible job of soldering this.
So you're also soldering surface mount parts without any magnification, which is also difficult.
Yeah, I suppose it's what I usually do, just because I wasn't smart enough to actually use the magnification when I started doing SMD stuff. So I just got really used to just kind of like plopping it on there with the tweezers and hoping for the best. And if that's the strategy that you start with, then it kind of ends up being the strategy that you continue with. But
right, don't mess with what works. Oh yeah.
Just try and clean that up a tiny bit, and then I can see if it actually works.
Nice. I'm trying to get all of my resistors bent here so they're not, oh, that one's falling out. Probably should have soldered a few of these down first, but that's okay. I think they'll be good. Some of them might be sticking a little proud, but that's all right.
I'm not even totally convinced this LED is on the right way around, so we'll find out. I've got one that I can get out that is like, here's one I made earlier that definitely works, so I can prove that it's like my crappy soldering skills and like not the board. But... No,
it's just the cooking show thing, right? Like you assemble it on the air, you put it into the oven, and then presto, you take it out, and it's perfect.
Ta-da!
Yeah, no problem.
So I've got my like 3 little components on there, but the next thing I have to do, well, first I'm going to test that I can actually scan it, because that will tell me if I actually soldered the legs of the chip or not.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. We're good. Nice. It scans.
So tell us about the chip that you're using, the little RFID chip.
Yeah, so the really cool thing about it is that it's an energy harvesting NFC chip.
What? That is super cool.
That's the thing that like made me want to use it in a project and do something with it. And I stopped short of like doing something super elaborate, which I was quite tempted to do, but that's like definitely going to be version 2 now, because it's a really surprising amount of energy that the chip harvests. From even a really small antenna like this.
Yeah.
So it's just an LED and a resistor that I have like hooked up to. There's 2 pins that come off of this chip that just basically all of the excess energy that comes into the chip through the antenna when it's in the presence of a reader, it just puts out as unregulated voltage on those 2 pins.
Oh, cool.
And that's what's powering the LED.
Nice.
But if you add like a voltage regulator, you could add in like another kind of chip or like, you know, a little processor or something.
Yeah.
And then control some logic or do some other like really cool stuff with that, just without needing a battery, just completely wirelessly. And that just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
But so the energy harvesting function for these particular chips isn't enabled by default.
Oh.
So one of the things that took me like a long time to work out was digging through the data sheet to work out what specific command I needed to send to the chip to tell it to start doing the energy harvesting thing.
Nice. Yes. Getting very well acquainted with the data sheet. Curling up for some light data sheet reading on a Friday night, you know. Yep.
Oh. I've got to grab my charger because I thought I had plugged myself in and it turns out I haven't, and I'm now on 11% battery. We're all good.
Ding, ding.
The happy noise. So if I go into this menu, it makes me really like scared every time I go to do this, because on the app that I'm using, I don't know if you can read that, there's this like giant disclaimer notice every time you try and just send raw commands to like the NFC chip, like you could break it. Please don't.
Do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah. But I don't care. The first time.
Yeah. I very, very much didn't. Oh. I think that's the magic number that I need to send.
Nice.
So we'll see.
Cool. Flipping off all of these resistors.
Okay, so I think we probably put the LED on backwards. That's what we just discovered.
They are difficult to see. Sometimes the markings are very, very hard to see, or they're only marked on the underside of the LED, which I'm just like, oh, that's useful.
Why would you do that?
Yeah,
I hate that so much, because every time I try and turn it over, I end up flicking it across the desk, and then I have no idea what way around it is.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That is exactly the problem with that.
I'm trying to take a look at one I made earlier instead to demonstrate.
Nice. Yeah, check it out. Cool. Cool.
But I don't know.
Now, is there so in the enclosures?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm sad that the cool artwork is going to be covered up. Can you? I don't know. Can you do some sort of like clear top to it, or
I'm gonna have to investigate. Yeah, it would be fun to try and have something that would like showcase it.
Yeah. Or at least maybe something for the LED to shine through, like a little bit of opacity, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Because so far, like I only got as far as like edge lit acrylic, and that was as far as my ideas went. It was like try and get the boards first. But I think at the very least I'll just have to have some of these out just so that people get to see them. But yeah. Definitely.
Oh, cool. Let's see. Almost done clipping leads here.
It looks like a really fun kit.
Yeah, it's not too many parts, which is nice. Hopefully I was measuring the resistors as we went, because they weren't well, I mean, you know, they're color coded, but
yeah. Not in like individually marked bags or anything, or
exactly, because there were a lot of different values, so I get that. There actually, I think that maybe I think they actually did color code them on the little pieces of cut tape that were there, but I measured them with a multimeter, so it should be good, as long as
always best to be sure.
Yeah, as long as I didn't mix it up somewhere along the way. But I have 2 extras, which I think makes sense, because I think they gave me extras of the 2 that there were multiple values of. So these guys.
Because it's a bit like IKEA furniture sometimes, when you end up with like those pieces left over and you're like, oh, should they have gone somewhere? I hope they weren't imported.
Yeah. And so far this has been pretty straightforward. I haven't really, there are instructions up on GitHub, but I haven't really had to resort to them at all. Oh, yeah, so that, thank y'all. All right. So we got a capacitor here, we got an LED, and so there are, I will have to resort, I think, to the instructions for this because there are both NPN and PNP transistors on here.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, I don't know. Yeah, these are not markings that I'm familiar with, so I will have to look up which one is which. We have 547Bs, and we have 557Bs and 547Bs, I think. Let's see. I have 547B, 547B. Oh, yep, 3 NPNs and 1 PNP. Haha, I can. Nice. I don't have to look. I now know because of the number.
The numbers.
Yes. Cool. So the 557Bs must be the PNPs. Cool. Maybe I'm going to save the capacitor for a little bit. I'll do these guys now since I know which one is which. And they have nicely skewed the through holes on this so that it's a little bit easier to hand solder because these guys tend to have legs that are pretty closely spaced apart or pretty closely spaced together. And
nice.
Yeah, it can be a challenge if they're just all in a line. So I'm going to actually...
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so like, here, I'll see if I can bring it up a little bit closer. We might not be able to focus quite that close. But yeah, so you can see how they're a little bit skewed here. And the transistors themselves are just, three parallel legs. And so you just bend them out of the way a little bit. And now
nice.
you are less likely to bridge across them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If they're staggered like that, then you've got better access for soldering each of the pins.
Yeah, it's so interesting to to see other kits that people are making and like kind of get little ideas like that to so that you can make stuff better, make stuff easier for people. Yeah, I can't wait to see how this sounds. Oh, so I wanted to talk about your Theremin project.
Yes.
That was great. I love that little microbit series on like doing stuff at home. I thought that was awesome.
It was such a lot of fun to make as well because it was just like a kind of personal challenge that I wanted to try and do like a video a day for like a while.
You really did one each day. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a great challenge, but like there was a reason that I didn't upload for a while after that. Like
yeah,
it was a lot.
I imagine. So did Microbit sponsor that in any way, or did you just?
No. I just
should have.
Well, hopefully,
some good swag at least from that.
next time. Version 2, hit me up, Microbit. It was just it was kind of both an exercise and kind of like giving people something to do while they were like at home in the pandemic, but also I have a real problem with like when I'm making videos, just everything taking longer because then I just kind of want to throw everything into it and I want to add transitions or then I want to go back and refilm something or I want to add something to it and it ends up being this like enormous thing that never even gets as far as going on YouTube. So I just kind of thought if I challenge myself to make a video a day, there's a real finite limit to what I can do in that time. And I'm going to have to just learn to finish something and put it out. And for that like week, 10 days, I absolutely did. And then like never again, which is sad, but like maybe there were some lessons that stuck with me, but
right. And it, it's like, okay, I did that. And now I know that I don't like that. And so I don't have to do that again. Right? Like, that's fine. That is a fine conclusion to come to. But I mean,
can't make a video in a day. I just won't.
They're a ton of work. They're a lot of work.
Yeah, they really are. And people say it, but until you have a go at doing it yourself, it's really hard to kind of express kind of quite how much goes into that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. We've done a few like standalone videos, and they are a ton of work. I definitely prefer the live streams because, you know, we can just sit here and chat and
Show
not,
up and chat.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
very low stress. Whereas I feel like videos, like produced videos, are higher stress because you're trying to get everything like just right and get all the shots that you need and things like that.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
I find,
also, I was just going to say that, like,
yeah, go ahead.
I think there are also people who've been doing it for a while. I think they get a better system down too. So
Yeah. But then I think it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other, because like as soon as you get a better system down, then you want to like upgrade your equipment or add something to your setup or do something like more ambitious with your videos, and then that changes the whole way that you go about creating them. Because like you'll kind of get like a single camera thing down, and then you'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I had a second camera now?
right, and both were going at once, and then we would have like A-roll and B-roll, and
Yeah.
we've definitely,
and then you've got a whole second thing to worry about. But yeah.
yes. I liked all of your sound effects that you put in your videos. I thought that those were super fun.
I can't wait to start to make some more again. It's just at the minute with like wedding planning has entirely like taken over my life. So making the projects of the wedding and actually just like planning for it to genuinely happen has just taken up so much of the last like couple of years. Because a thing we're doing, the place that we're getting married, I think I can say, it's like a really, really cool unconventional venue in Cardiff in Wales, if anyone knows it. And it's like a kind of interactive like science discovery center.
What? That sounds super cool.
They have an earthquake simulator.
What?
And a slide.
Okay, that's I think that will be hilarious, because there are definitely going to be people sliding in fancy wedding clothes.
Yeah.
I would hope, at least.
That is absolutely what I've got my fingers crossed for. That is what I'm hoping for my wedding pictures.
I think you definitely need to have like a one of those automatic motion sensitive cameros, so that whenever anybody goes down the slide, it totally videos.
Oh my god, that is an excellent idea. That's do you know what, that's going on my list immediately. I need to make that.
Yes.
I need to slide motion activated camera. It's there. I've got it. It's happening. But yeah, because this place is not really a super common wedding venue. They've never held a wedding there before, and they're actually getting the wedding license like specifically for us.
That's
so
awesome.
That we can go and get married there, which is fantastic. But it does mean that there's like 10 times more organization to do, because they don't even have tables and chairs.
Oh my gosh.
They've just got exhibits. Like you turn up and you play all the exhibits, you go down the slide. They don't need like a full set of tables and chairs for like 100 guests to sit down and have dinner. So just every single kind of wedding aspect of it, we've had to try and plan and organize ourselves, on top of like me suddenly deciding that I want to make like 200 RF boards so that all the guests can have one. So it's just been quite a lot. And I'm super excited, but it's just...
Oh, Bob is asking, are you going to make all of your attendees sign waivers so that you can put the video online? Well, that can be part of the RFID tag. The moment that you put it down on the table, you automatically
sign. That's a brilliant idea. I like that. We'll just have the world's tiniest notice on the way in.
Yeah. Perfect.
By entering this building, you consent to...
By signing the guest book, you also... Oh,
that'd be great.
Okay, I think I'm like approaching done on this. Awesome. So this is interesting. So I see, because so there's there's this push button that's part of the kit that is, you know, it is kind of like this through-hole button meant to bend the tabs over and solder it down, but it's sort of been put down in the surface mount fashion here.
Oh, that's a fun way of doing that.
Yeah, and it's so that the piano design on the backside isn't broken.
Doesn't have anything through it.
Yep, exactly. So put that on. Oh, speaker, right? Speaker, not done. That's an important part of this. Got that going, and there is an extra black wire for the kit that I assume I have to like hook up somewhere, and or maybe, I wonder if they just gave me maybe one color of wire. Right now I'm just like bending these guys kind of down and out to make like little surface mount gull wings here. Like,
nice.
So yeah, I'm kind of wondering how the whole power source thing goes. Maybe they just gave me one color of wire to hook up both, or maybe I lost the other color of wire. That's also very
it's always fun trying to guess that.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, is this just one thing, or did I accidentally misplace it?
I've forgotten which color LEDs are in which one of these bags. So we've had like I was hoping that the board that I just assembled was going to have like a different color LED on it, so that I'd have two different ones to show off. But it ended up being the same color green as the one that I'd done earlier. So I picked a different bag now. So we should have something different, provided I manage to successfully solder a second board, which is not guaranteed, but I should have left it at one, like quit while you're ahead. But
nah, the more the merrier.
Well, I'll give it a
the
go.
merrier.
Because I've probably put the LED down backwards again. Because I went, oh, don't do it the same way you did last time. But then it's probably whichever way I didn't think I did it.
Oh, no. Okay. So I have a battery. Okay. So I have a battery, wired battery holder here, and a little bit of extra black wire. So, oh, maybe, I wonder if that's like there is a J1 on here. Oh, that's the style. Oh,
it's the little stylus wire.
It's for the stylus. That's probably what it's for. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So, I got legs sticking to my speaker here, cut off legs because the speaker is a big magnet. So the speaker goes on the back, and now, okay, so what I want to kind of be careful of right here, I'm gonna just put this in and see how it goes. So
I've managed to lose all of my NFC chips.
Oh no!
I put the little thing down somewhere, and they've just completely vanished.
Now, are those? Do those actually?
Oh wait.
Legs?
I put them in here. Yeah, the little TSOP.
Oh, nice.
Packages. Oop.
Nice. Okay, cool. I was like, oh gosh, are you having to like hand solder a, DFN or QFN or something like that? Because I imagine a lot of those come in those.
Yeah.
Packages.
Well, to be honest, I thought like just the sort of TSOP 8 was ambitious enough for like a kind of beginner SMD solderer. So.
All right. So my little conundrum here is that the speaker has a metallized back here, and I have like some legs that are poking up here that I don't want to be shorted out when I put the speaker on top. So I might ask Robin if you could get us just a little bit of like foam tape, like double stick foamy tape, and then we can put it there and then stick the speaker on top of it, and then we won't have to worry about that. It is recessed a little bit. There's like a little bit of plastic around it, but it's not very thick there. So I want to have like a little bit of extra room
protection.
Yeah. And I think I have plenty of room. The legs are reasonably long, so I should have plenty of room to do that.
I like that tape comes to the rescue in like all
yeah, right. Hot glue, double stick tape.
Yes.
you
Hot
know.
glue is my favorite.
Oh, I noticed like your hot glue gun looked really nice in one of your videos.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I think we need to upgrade our hot glue gun because we have like some really cheap, terrible one that I feel like it never quite gets hot enough. Like
Yeah.
barely.
I think we've got the opposite problem. My hot glue gun is like hotter than the surface of the sun. It's just like you turn it on and within a couple of minutes it's like suspiciously hot and like drooling glue everywhere. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit frightening. But not as frightening as this absolutely excellent tool that my boss owns. That is like my favorite, like soldering related tool. But it's like it's a heated solder pump, and it's brilliant. But it's kind of like ever so slightly dodgy. It gets very, very hot, and like some of the times that you plug it in, it's the wrong bit of it that gets hot. So you just have to be a little bit careful when you're coming near it that it's not kind of heated up in the wrong way before you pick it up. But when it does work, oh my god, nothing just like removes solder from through holes like it.
Interesting. I would be very interested to like get a part number for that if you can dig one up.
I can try and find one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I
yeah.
I have an awful feeling it might have just been a kind of like random like Alibaba purchase that is kind of questionable origin, but
that works.
Yeah, I can definitely find your link. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have one that is reasonably good, but I mean, and I don't know, this might just be a thing with all of them is that they like it seems like you get just like a little bit of solder in there and like you constantly have to be like cleaning them out in order to keep the suction going.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know.
In fairness, this one does tend to kind of like drool solder, which is kind of not great. But then like in the workshop, like I'm such a messy maker. Like you can see just like a little fraction of the kind of chaos that I create. And this is like I tidied up for this stream. But in the workshop, I've definitely been guilty of that, like too lazy to clean the iron properly, so just put a load of solder on it and flick it at the floor. You know, like solder pump is full of solder. Where's that going to go? Somewhere in that direction. Yeah. So I call it decorating because basically all the space around my chair in the workshop floor is like kind of sparkly now.
There you go. It's like decorating with lead.
Yeah.
Or lead free, you know.
Well, like lead paint, that used to be a thing. So
my house, I had to sign that disclosure before I rented. We know that there's lead-based paint, and then my landlords tried to get a sketchy handyman to like work on the paint and scrape some off of the house, and I was just like, oh no, I had to sign that disclosure. This house was built in the late 1930s and you need to do like lead paint remediation for that. But yeah,
okay, this one if
right,
I can find the sweet spot, this one is a blue LED.
Nice. Ooh, I think I want the wires coming out of the back, I think, so that I don't have something on the front kind of like close to the keys that might be messing it up. As long as I don't get solder on the keys here. All right, we're gonna see about this. So we have negative going, we'll go this way. And positive going that way too.
I'm so excited to see this thing working.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, so I got distracted. Theremin.
Yeah.
I think Theremins are wonderful, noisy, terribly obnoxious machines as well. They're great. And yeah, it was cool to see like the one that you made out of the light dependent resistor. We have a little kit from Cyber City Circuits where they made one out of an ultrasonic distance sensor.
Nice.
So, but it reminded me so much of that one because you had your phone over it and you were like raising and lowering the phone and it changed in tune. So this one, the ultrasonic sensor is pointing straight up, so you can actually put your hand over it and like twiddle your fingers and get it to like
do great, like a kind of a brasso type thing. Yeah, nice.
It was super cool. It was funny, Robin, your mom was over yesterday and I was like, oh, you got to check this thing out. And she was like, ooh, what is it? And she put her head right over it and it started playing. And I was like, oh, well, nobody's tried to play it with their face before, but I guess it works too.
Oh, I love it.
But she was leaning over it and then she was talking to it because she thought it was voice reactive. It was pretty funny.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry, I love you. It was adorable. It was really adorable.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, let me solder this in. Okay. Plus, minus. And then J1, I think, for the stylus. So the stylus is part of this board, which is kind of cool. And it's like a little breakaway dealio. So I might use some pliers here because it is reasonably stiff. There we go. I always like to be a little bit careful when I'm breaking out boards. I've had boards that had traces really close to the edge, and if you pop them out too aggressively, it can kind of tear into the circuit board. So I try to be as gentle as I can with them. Okay, and there, let's see, that one's good. And then this one, wiggle back and forth a little bit, maybe. Get it a little bit closer, thicker pliers. Oh, I do have thicker pliers, look at that. Perfect. Way better tool for the right job. Okay, and then we just connect it with the wire. I'm going to strip the end here. Twist it. Strip the other end. Oh. Twist it. All right.
I'm going to see what mystery color LED number 3 is.
Ooh, yeah. Let's see.
Ooh. This one I have accidentally bought 0603s.
Oh,
okay. So I can't tell which way around these go.
Do they have a green dot at one side? Sometimes they will on the top.
Yeah. They've got it's the green, when they have the green arrow underneath, I never remember, is it pointing towards the cathode or the anode?
Pointing towards the cathode, which will usually be the end that's marked on the circuit board with a line or...
Yeah, I mean, but of course I haven't marked my circuit board with a line.
Oh, no!
But I think I know which way around I made the cathode and the anode.
Yeah, and if there is a green dot on the top, that will also be a cathode mark generally. I mean, occasionally somebody sometime somewhere probably got a diode pattern wrong, and it was probably for a big company and a big manufacturing batch, and so somehow they convinced the LED manufacturer to mark the anode instead of the cathode. This is my theory. This is not
yeah.
But there are anode marked LEDs out there, and it's like, why, God, why, when that happens?
Oh, yeah. I think the only redeeming feature about it is the fact that at least there's only 2 ways around it could be. So if it's wrong the first time, you just put it the other way.
Yes. Yep. As long as you can actually tell which way you put it the first time.
That's true. That's very true.
Right?
Because this has not got very much marking on it.
I think we're ready.
Oh, exciting.
I think we're ready to try it out. Okay. Ooh, 9-volt battery. We even have one right here. I have no idea what state of charge it's in. Let's do it. Oop, LED comes on.
That's a good sign.
It is. Oh, I have to. Oh, no. There's not a switch on it. Oh!
Oh! Oh, that's fantastic.
It's pretty good. It's like the tip doesn't really work because it's the the fiberglass, so you kind of have to get it on the
Angle it a little bit.
edge a little bit. Yeah. But I bet you there
A little
are
bit of like
instructions.
copper tape
you know
or
what?
something would help with that.
Yeah, one of these leads, I bet. They do have a little solder blob. I bet you maybe you can like wrap around one of these cut off
Oh, okay.
tails,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
around it. Because that's a through hole, so that's connecting both of them. So yeah, I bet you just like wrapping a wire around the tip will totally work.
Yeah.
I suppose I could also like read the instructions like a normal person.
It's more fun discovering it yourself.
It is. It is. Well, it's I always feel kind of like it's boring when I'm reading instructions online or on video. It's like, yeah, there's not really anything going on right now. I'm just reading instructions. So let's see.
Well, I think the sense of like danger and adventure from like doing it without the instructions definitely makes for a more animated stream.
Definitely. All right, I'm gonna undo the battery, and then I think I'm gonna just try to bend this around. Oh, I betcha. Yeah. Okay, so if I put it in the hole, bend it that way, and then bend it around the tip. Like this. Ciao. Oh, no, didn't get it right. It's hard to, the tip is very pointy, so it's hard to kind of line it up and get it bent perfectly around it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe what would have been good for that is like if you did like one castellated pad.
Yeah, a little notch.
Notch, and then you could put like a thick wire through it. That'd be really nice.
Totally. But that's okay. This is fine. Having an actual pair of pliers to help is handy. Because I was thinking that bending it all the way around would like help with soldering it, but maybe not. Maybe I should solder it when it's flat and then bend it around because that would hold the tip. Yeah, I think that's what I will do. It's gonna be a little tricky, but that's okay.
If this one works, it's the first one that I've done on stream so far that I haven't managed to bridge any of the legs and have to clean it up. So
nice! Yay! That's awesome.
Cool. That is good news.
Yeah. Okay. So that's gonna be exciting. Okay. So I'm gonna do that. Turn this around here so that I have this with my left hand, this with my right hand. Reflow it, pull it kind of straight. There we go. Try not to burn myself doing this. It's always fun. Okay, I think it's relatively stable. And now
mystery color number 3 is white LED.
Ooh, nice. Cool. All right, so now it is firmly held in place there. And now it's not too hot. Now I can way more easily bend it around.
Do you think guitar players make better solderers because the calluses let you hold like hotter wire or hold wires for longer when they're heating up when you try to poke them into something?
Right? They might. I mean, yeah, I do have some calluses from climbing, but they're not on the correct part of my, they don't tend to be right on the tips, at least for climbing in the gym. For climbing outside, they can be. But yeah. Okay. All right. totally have that done. All right. Now let's see.
I'm looking forward to seeing this in action.
Move everything out of the way here.
Oh, it's so cute. Oh, that's perfect. Nice.
This is a very satisfying kit, I have to say. That is pretty cool. I mean, I can't play anything. I've subjected my stream viewers to my terrible piano skills a few too many times. Let's see. Uh-oh. I ran out of keys. Who's?
Oh, no.
Who's? Oh, wait, maybe not. Oh, God. Well, I got halfway through it. That's it.
Perfect.
Woo!
Woo! Oh, that's great. That looks like so much fun, that little kit.
That is a pretty good one. I like it. I like it. So yeah, if you came in after I announced it, it is a kit that's by blinkyparts on Tindy, who is Timo Schindler. So who's also on Twitter. So yeah, good little kit. Yeah, they also have some other kits that are kind of good there's one that's like cat in a box where the cat's eyes are LEDs. But then there's
my gosh.
Well, they have another one, and I'm gonna have to place another order for this because they have like one where it's the cat's behind and its butthole is an LED that lights up.
I need that.
Right? I was like, I need this in my life. I need a light up cat butthole.
Oh my god. So I have two cats that like I am so surprised haven't made an appearance on the stream this evening, because like while they were setting up, one of them was like sat on top of this cupboard and like threatening to dive bomb like everything on my desk beforehand, but like they've actually like cleared off and they're napping in the other room, and I'm kind of disappointed because I wanted them to just like come in and create chaos, and the one time I actually want them to do that. But light up cat butt would just be perfect ornament for this house. I feel like it sums up their personalities like
Definitely. Yes, my cat is right up there with cat butt personality. Nice. Oh, cool. Well, gosh. I think we did it. I think we did a successful stream and successful projects. Is there anything else?
4 of these boards made.
Yay! Is there anything else that you want to talk about that you're doing that you want to share, or like links or stuff? Ways for people to support you and your projects.
Follow me on Twitter.
Yay.
There'll be more YouTube stuff coming eventually. It's just wedding planning has taken over my life. But all of the fun things that we're making for the wedding. So we've got like the fun light up save the dates, and we've got these beautiful boards that I've been making on stream tonight. And then for our wedding invitations, they are going to involve some illusion.
Nice.
But another thing that I will have coming up in the not too distant future is a project I'm working on with Design Spark. And if I can move all the mess on my desk to free this wonderful device, is Design Spark's air quality sensor kit, which I should really plug in, but I think I've actually run out of power sockets.
Yeah.
But when it's powered on, it's got a CO2 sensor, it's got PM 2.5 through to like PM 10 or something, and volatile organic sensor, temperature and humidity, and it's like a little kind of air quality dashboard. And it also communicates all that data via MQTT. So either on a local network, or if you connect it to like Wi-Fi, you can configure it so that it will put that data to the cloud, and then you can get that data from the cloud. So there's a group of us who are doing fun projects with this air quality sensor data. You might have already seen Ali of Geeky Faye has done a really cool LED necklace project.
Yes, I just saw that. Gorgeous work. Yeah.
Air quality sensor rig. My project's a bit weird and maybe a bit controversial, but I'm going to be making an NFT.
I see why the controversy. Yes.
But okay. The idea is that this NFT is going to be able to change over time with air quality data from that sensor and like update and change and showcase some of the cooler sides of the technological aspects of like blockchain and NFT technology. But also, if it gets sold, we're going to sell it to try and raise money for a carbon offset charity. So
nice.
Hopefully it will turn into air quality art that benefits the planet rather than being terrible for the planet, but
cool.
All a bit complicated.
It is. It's not
a fraught subject, but like hopefully it will be just a little kind of harmless exploration of it that will get people talking about air quality. So
yeah, I mean, that's interesting that it's also like tied to a physical thing, which most NFTs are not. So I like that aspect of it as well. Does the person who purchases the NFT, will they get the sensor itself, or is it just the sensor lives like apart from the owner of the NFT?
The sensor lives apart from the owner of the NFT. So actually, I think what I'm probably going to do is have it update off of this specific air quality sensor for a duration of time, and then like for the longevity of it, because then if the sensor goes offline or I like unplug it, then you don't want the NFT to just never update again. So it might transition to taking that data from a public API that has air quality data and serves that from multiple servers, so that it can build a little bit more robustness into that process. But certainly to begin with, it's going to be taking data live from my air quality sensor,
live from Hannah's air quality. Oh, I think Hannah might be soldering right now. Air quality has really gone down.
Why did I buy this NFT? It looks like garbage now. So that should be an interesting project. But it was one that we started quite a long time ago, and I knew absolutely nothing about NFTs when I started it, and I wrote a really long article for Design Spark on all the things that I found out when I was researching them, and it's messy and difficult, but I think it's like less black and white than I've seen some commentary about it, because I think that's true of most technology. And I think like my personal kind of motto is that technology is a tool. Like there's always been a massive outcry about social media. I mean, for me personally, I found it a hugely positive force in my life because it's allowed me to connect with a whole bunch of people across the planet that do things that I like and that I can hang out with. Without social media, I wouldn't be here hanging out with awesome, amazing people like you and soldering projects. And that's a great thing. But also, undeniably, social media has been used for terrible, nefarious purposes. But technology is ultimately a tool, and it's about how you put it to work that makes the difference. And I think that the technology that underpins NFTs, there's maybe even a potential kind of second life for that as a different system, but as it stands, like the way it's being used.
The majority of the uses are not very good. But I totally agree with you that yes, technology is a tool, and the uses are very various. I mean, blockchain in and of itself is really interesting to prove a digital possession of something, right? And I think that is a very useful thing in very, very many cases, but there are a lot of different ways to enact it. And I think it's interesting that people are looking for more sustainable ways too. I mean, it's definitely come a long way since the kind of brute force Bitcoin blockchain, method was invented, I guess. But yeah, it's very interesting. There are a lot of pros and cons to all of the different like proof of stake versus proof of work. And
for sure,
it's a big topic. It's a very big topic.
Yeah.
But what is a shame is sort of like the popularity of the very like, I don't know, I would say more frivolous uses of it.
Absolutely.
Memes, and it's like, what
just
does
the
that
wild
mean?
speculation, like people just like bidding billions of pounds on like a JPEG that like somebody's friend made in 5 minutes, and it just kind of doesn't seem like we've got this kind of potentially powerful technology that can do interesting things. And to me, at least, that doesn't seem like the most interesting use of it. And it, like, so kind of having NFTs that can update over time and take data from off chain and do something with it like on chain, that was something I didn't know was possible, and something that I think kind of adds flexibility and potential. I'm not an expert in the technology, so I couldn't say for sure if that means that it's got kind of a use case that makes it like a vital and useful technology. It's emerging, and it's a kind of a technology that hasn't found its niche and its groove, like, but kind of finding out some of the different things that it can do that aren't just JPEGs of monkeys is interesting to me. So yeah,
definitely
hoping to just explore that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's super cool. Nice. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up and thank all of our viewers for viewing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and so I'm catching up on some of Bob's comments. He said that this was a great solder sesh. Thank you for joining, and he sends you good wedding, wishes of proceeding smoothly and joyfully and stuff. So yeah, awesome. All right. Well, we will see you all next week on the solder sesh, and we don't have a guest lined up for next week's solder sesh, but what I am planning on doing, providing all of the parts arrive, is breadboarding up a circuit that I want to use on a learn to surface melt solder kit that I am working on.
Ooh, exciting!
Yeah. So it'll involve 555 timers and inverters, and of course, a lot of blinking lights.
Excellent. Classic stuff. I love it.
Definitely. So awesome. All right.
Thank you so much for having me. I have had a great time.